Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're getting into something pretty wild, a massive paradox right at the heart of the AI revolution. We're talking about OpenAI, a company that is literally changing the world, but at the same time, might just be on the verge of a spectacular financial collapse. I mean, just look at this. On the one hand, you have an absolute titan. ChatGPT was the fastest growing app in history, period. It rocketed the company to an $86 billion valuation. But you flip that coin, and the reality is pretty terrifying. Analysts are talking about a massive cash burn, code red emergencies, and even warnings that the company could face bankruptcy as early as 2027. So this is the big question, right? How can both of these things be true at the same time? How can the undisputed leader of the AI boom also be staring into a financial abyss? Okay, let's really dive in and try to figure this out. To understand this paradox, we have to look past all the hype and get into the astronomical numbers happening behind the scenes. And believe me, those numbers, they paint a picture that is worlds away from the public perception. Okay, first, let's start with the good news. Give them their due. The company's revenue is on an absolute rocket ship, pulling in an impressive $20 billion a year. For any company, especially one this young, that is a truly staggering number. But here is where the story takes a crazy turn. That incredible revenue number, it is completely, totally dwarfed by their spending. OpenAI has committed to spending $600 billion on the chips, data centers, and raw power it needs for the next generation of AI. That's 30 times its annual revenue. And if that math just sounds too wild to even process, check this out. One analyst put it in a way that just perfectly clicks. It's like a regular person making 50 grand a year, but promising to buy a $3.5 million mansion, paid in full, next year. It's a level of financial risk that is honestly hard to even comprehend. And you know what? That massive number for the future doesn't even touch the day-to-day bleeding. Just keeping the lights on and running ChatGPT for its millions of users costs anywhere from $700,000 to as much as $5 million every single day. So what do you do when you're staring into a financial black hole like this? Well, you start making some pretty drastic moves, and a lot of them seem to fly directly in the face of the company's founding mission, to benefit all of humanity. I mean, just look at this trajectory. What started out as this idealistic, nonprofit research lab has, quietly removed its ban on military applications, signed a $200 million deal with the Pentagon, and is now rolling out ads to its massive user base. It is a very clear pivot from idealism to what looks a lot like a desperate search for cash. And the real irony here, the company's own CEO, Sam Altman, was publicly against advertising. Just a couple of years ago, he called it a last resort for their business model, even saying that he found the combination of ads and AI to be uniquely unsettling. Well, guess what? Here we are. That last resort has officially arrived. And we're not talking about some small test either. Internal projections are aiming for $1 billion in ad revenue this year alone, and they're hoping to scale that up to $25 billion by 2029. So as you can imagine, these desperate moves are causing absolute chaos inside the company. We've seen an exodus of key talent, including some of the brilliant minds that actually co-created GPT-4. At the same time, researchers who've left are warning that the company is silencing negative findings. And there are even reports of OpenAI sending legal threats to small watchdog groups that are critical of its new direction. Okay, so you might be thinking, wait a minute, aren't Google and Meta also burning billions and billions on AI? And you'd be right, they are. But this crisis is hitting OpenAI so hard because of a fundamental weakness in its business model, one that its biggest rivals can very easily exploit. So it all comes down to this one absolutely crucial concept right here, cross-subsidization. This is the secret weapon of OpenAI's biggest competitors, and it's an advantage that OpenAI simply does not have. Just look at Google. This chart says it all, really. In just one quarter, Google can rake in $54 billion from search, $13 billion from cloud, and $10 billion from YouTube. All that cash can be used to cover the massive losses from its AI division, Gemini. Google can afford to lose money on AI because its other businesses are basically giant fire hoses of cash. See, unlike Google, OpenAI doesn't have a multi-$100 billion empire to fall back on. It has to make money directly from AI, which, as we've seen, is incredibly expensive. Even a rival like Anthropic has a much clearer path because it's laser-focused on profitable business customers, while OpenAI is out here trying to be everything to everyone. So, with few other options on the table and a business model that just can't keep up with its spending, OpenAI is being pushed toward one final massive gamble to try and solve its money problems for good. And that gamble is an IPO. The plan is to go to the public stock market and sell a story that, despite all the current losses, OpenAI's future potential to build artificial general intelligence makes it worth a staggering $1 trillion. But, and this is a huge but, there's a catch. When you go public, you are legally required to open your books and reveal everything: the true revenue, the true losses, the true risks. For a company like OpenAI, that moment of forced transparency could be a complete disaster if the numbers don't live up to that trillion-dollar hype. And this isn't just about one company's fate. A failed OpenAI IPO could be catastrophic for the entire economy. I mean, the AI boom has accounted for a staggering 60% of recent US economic growth, with AI-related companies driving 80% of all stock market gains. If the leader of the AI boom suddenly reveals its magic trick is just a pile of debt, it could trigger a massive collapse across the whole sector. So that leaves us with this final, lingering question. We're watching a high-stakes game being played for trillions of dollars, betting the future on a technology that is still wildly, wildly unprofitable. When this house of cards comes tumbling down, who is forced to live with the consequences?